This week, what I've tried to do is get myself organized and identify areas where I need help. So in identifying areas I need help, it doesn't mean that I can't do them myself. I just know that other people can do them better, have a better understanding, have a better skill set in these areas than I have, and just have a better understanding. And it's find people that it's a core skill for. As I go through each one, I'll sort of explain what I mean as it's relevant to that thing. So, well, social media is an obvious one. I do something. I'm putting out these videos each week on YouTube. Am I doing everything correctly? Of course not. I'm not doing thumbnail tests or even thumbnail experiments, really. I just use the same one every time, the same style. I don't know if things would improve if I did better. I don't know if I should do more in the description part, file names. There's so much that if you watch videos about YouTube, there's so much that you're supposed to keep on top of all the time. And it seems that YouTube just keeps changing everything all the time anyway. So, every month or two, there seems to be a wave of videos about what you now need to do to get seen on YouTube. And keeping on top of all of that, it's not my bag, and it frustrates me. And I need help with that. Exactly the same thing applies with Facebook and Instagram. I'm just sticking stuff up there and hoping that, someone might find some interest in it. But I don't really know what I'm doing, if I'm brutally honest. I know I'm not doing things correctly or in the way which might attract a greater following, which is what I want to do, not for my sake, not from a personal ego perspective, but from perspective of getting followers to look at my work, have an interest in what I'm doing and support me in that way. So I need help with that, no doubt. My website, I pay for Google Workspace, and I think you can get Google Sites for free anyway. So I've just got a Google Sites website, which is pretty basic, hasn't got any of the flashy stuff that you get on Squarespace and other sites like that, but it's free. And as an indie filmmaker, I think you've always got to find ways to try and minimize costs. And if it's free and it's doing the job, it's working fine. I know it could be flashier. I know it could be perhaps more functional, better designed. I'm sure you can probably use some code to add some bells and whistles to it. So that's another thing I could probably use some help with. And all of these things I mentioned, like the social media stuff and the website and other things I mentioned, require some financial input to get people of appropriate quality to be, steering my ship in the right direction. I know that, and I have to find it, but you can't make things better unless you know what you want to improve. So at the moment, I'm just trying to identify things and then try and work out ways of, finding some money to achieve that. Film marketing is a big one. It probably really requires, I think a big chunk of that comes down to having a producer to help. And having a producer on board who has that marketing and financial mindset to drive those things. So there's you could spend endless amount of money on film marketing. There's no doubt about that. But I think that's something I need help with right from the start. And I think with that, I need a producer. And yeah, I think the simplest thing. And like I said, you can go a million different paths. You can spend a fortune on festivals, and then you have to go to festivals and all the associated costs around that. Social media campaigns, film markets. I mean, it's just, you can spend a hell of a lot of money, easily more money than you spent making your film, doing all those things. So you need to get that balance and have someone with a bit of experience and all of that to try and identify a path which is appropriate for you. And again, a good producer is all about that kind of thing. Storyboards and AI, I've talked about this before, but I can sketch, and I have done before, sketched really simple little storyboards and things like that. But I'd really like to have quality storyboards and some animatics, I think is the correct term, animated, to be able to see scenes, and maybe even the whole movie, animated before you get to the shoot, really helps. Especially for indie filmmaking, I think, when you're on such tight budgets and timelines, to be able to see and hopefully identify problems and identify better ways to do things, be able to show key team members these things, and they can point out good and bad, and you can tweak things as much as possible before you actually start spending the big chunks of money on filming. And that includes rehearsals. If you do something like map out a floor like the set's going to be, or how you envisage it, then actors will give you great feedback about why something works, or why another way might be better, or why something doesn't work. Just the same as a cinematographer or a sound person or whoever would give you feedback. But just having all that information before you shoot is going to make your life a lot easier. I mean, things will go wrong, there'll be challenges when you film, there always are, but as much as you can minimize before you get to filming, perfect. So that's definitely an area I want to get some quality, and I've looked at some of these things. I made a video about one of them, Storyboard or AI, but my frustration with them is that even if you pay the highest rate, I can't remember which one it was, even if you paid the highest rate, you can only do so many video productions before you need to start paying again more and more for video productions. And none of them seem really aimed at producing videos or animatics or whatever you want to call them for a whole feature film in a cost-effective way. They end up costing a fortune to do that. And maybe you just do key scenes, but I'd rather just do it all, because again, as an indie filmmaker you're always scraping pennies together, I want to see as much as I can in advance so that the shoot goes as smoothly as possible, not just logistically, but emotionally and creatively for everyone involved. Okay, and even though I've mentioned things along this line before, but even though I write, I'm a big picture person when it comes to these things. And writing, I'll write a big chunk, or I'll even write 80 or 100 pages, but I know I need help to knock that into shape. And I think that, and this ties in with marketing too, and having someone that could do, help me with a log line, a one paragraph and a one page for the film, and help me with, I write all these things, but like character profiles, help me knock them into shape, and my notes, I make notes for myself and for the team. Again, having someone that could put them in a presentable way that will be more meaningful for everyone on the team. someone to help with all that kind of thing. Now, I think that's all I've got here. Yeah. What I might do is try and find a film student to help me with some of those things, like the writing stuff at the end that I mentioned. I'm sure they'd be good at those sort of things, and probably social media and a lot of those things I mentioned. Actually, I could probably find film students who were into each of those specific areas. But then I still need to give them something. I don't, I've done one film where it was deferred payment, and it's still at the back of my mind, and it just reminds me I don't want to do that again. So I want to be able to find some money somewhere to be able to pay people for these things. And another thing on those lines is I'm going to get a script doctor. I mentioned last video, one before, to look at the script, to tighten it up as much as possible. Because if I'm honest, I'm, like I said, a big picture person, and I get excited and impatient. And sometimes I charge into projects before the script's really as tight as it needs to be. So I need to do better. I need to make those scripts as tight as possible, as I said, and using someone like a script doctor. I've identified someone, and I just need to, I'm just trying to rake the pennies in to be able to afford to do it. And the same applies to all those things I mentioned. So that's what I've been doing, trying to organize myself, identify areas I need help. Don't get me wrong, if I have to do all of that myself just to get a production made, I would, but I know that actually I wouldn't. What I'd do is if I had the money to do that, I would use part of it to address some of those things I've just mentioned, and as is relevant, like especially the script and things around that would be my first, the first thing I'd put some money towards. Yeah, so I just trying to get myself organized and identify and realize that what I need to do, help and identify that I need to find some money to do those things, is definitely a worthwhile exercise, because you can't hit a target if you don't know what the target is. So that's what I've been doing this week. Kin Spirits, still available to watch on Foursome, Tubi and Relay. If any more platforms come up, I'll let you know. Links in the description. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.